This episode of Film Riot is brought to you by Ting. Welcome to Film Riot Mondays. Today we're getting back into a Monday challenge with some really good visual effects submissions this time and more questions. So let's get questing. It's like video games. You quest for things. Except it's a question.
I wish they can all see my face right now.
It's kind of like this.
Mail sack, taking a look in Riot's mail sack.
First question, and it comes from Twitter. Hey, look at that. Hey, is there any way to simulate a Dolly zoom / Vertigo effect in post if you could not shoot it on location? Cheers! Actually, yes. All you would have to do is do your Dolly move in or out and then add a digital zoom to it. So either if you're dollying in, add a digital zoom in, and then as you dolly in, zooming out at the exact speed or vice versa. The only thing is when you zoom into your picture, you're gonna lose quality. So unless your project's like a 720 and you actually shot a 1080, or if you're shooting something like on the Red camera with like 4K, then you wouldn't have any issue at all. But if you're delivering a 1080 project that you shot on 1080, you're gonna lose quality once you zoom in too far. Next question, again from Twitter, showing some Twitter love. If I'm using a song for a video under fair use, how much of it can I use and can I make the video for profit? Fair use can be a very difficult thing. You definitely need to consult a lawyer if you're doing anything for profit or something, because most stuff can be disputed if you're not doing it right. Usually the good rule of thumb is if it's copywritten and you don't have permission, don't use it. Especially do not sell it. You can get sued very, very easily. And if you're not using it for fair use, the answer is you can't use any of it. This idea that you can use like 30 seconds, 8 seconds, anything, that is not true. If it can be proven that this is their original property that you used even 10 seconds of, you can be in a lot of trouble. So whenever you're using copyrighted materials, be very, very careful. Consult a lawyer because you could easily get in a lot of trouble. Are the Tell Blu-rays shipping now? Any idea of a shipping estimate on international orders? We have started shipping everything already. There are a lot of orders and we're a small team. Amber, who handles it all, has been working her butt off, pulling extremely late hours to try to get everything out the door as quickly as possible. I think we're only gonna be shipping for about another week and then everything will be out for you guys. As far as international orders goes, that's really hard to say. It's kind of out of our hands once we ship it. There has been like some customs issues. Usually people get it really fast. The norm is you're gonna get it fast. I mean, we've had a few people overseas already tweeting to me that they got the products within a few days, which is insane. I don't know if there's a teleporter involved or what, but there has been rare cases where customs held the product for one reason or another and it took the person like a month or so to get it, but that rarely ever happens. So the answer is, I don't know how to answer that. It should be quick, but once it gets to customs, it's out of our hands. Dear Mail Sack, how do I get Ryan's Mail Sack jingle out of my head? I hear it everywhere now. Oh, that's easy, you just play it backwards. What are your biggest pet peeves in amateur, student, prosumer video productions? I think my two biggest, which I've been at fault for in the past, is terrible audio or just on-camera audio and it being too dark. One thing people do is they tend to overgrade their image to the point to where it gets too dark, they lose details, and it looks really, really amateur. You don't want to send your blacks so far that there's nothing there. I mean, if that's what you're going for, fine, but it's very evident when you know what you're doing and that's what you're going for. It has a noir type feel to it, where these other ones, it's just this overall, I guess you could say the mids are far too dark. Where the shadows, yeah, push the shadows, but the mids are far too dark and you can't see the actor's face, you can't see the actor's eyes. You don't want that. Comes off very, very amateur. And audio, if you have a camera that can't control audio at all, maybe try to think of things that you could do without dialogue. That way you're just doing music and stuff later, or do ADR later. Use the audio from your camera just as reference audio and then do ADR. One of the most important things is your audio. If your audio is great and everything else sucks, people can get used to that. But if your audio is terrible and everything else is great, nobody's gonna get used to that. Yo, Ryan, I'm 16, but I'm worried my first few films will be poop cake. How can I avoid this problem? If it's your first few films, I can almost guarantee, unless you're some kind of prodigy, that they're gonna suck. I mean, Christopher Nolan's student film, I didn't think was very good. And for me, that's really encouraging. And my first few films were terrible. I mean, I should never follow Christopher Nolan up by saying me, ever. So just make that two totally different things. But my first few films were absolutely heinous, horrible, like a 5-year-old with a crayon bad. Like I would never want to show, and maybe I will because I like to humiliate myself for some reason, but they were absolutely terrible. But that's not a bad thing. You have to fail to learn. I mean, as I always say, failure is the bridge to success. So if you're failing, you're learning from your failures and you're getting better with each one. One of the things I hate the most is when I finish a project or a script or something, I show it to somebody that I respect, that I'm trying to learn from, that I think is far better than me, and all I get in return is, hey, good job, I liked it. That didn't tell me anything. I'm not growing at all. I'm not learning anything. I mean, it's nice that they liked it, but I want them to see the problems in my project and tell them to me so that I can learn from those mistakes. So you shouldn't be afraid of failure. You kind of long for it in the beginning. That way you're continually learning from it. And if you accept the fact that your first few films are going to be really fun and they're going to be good for you and they're going to be exciting, but they're not going to be too great, it's going to keep you from wanting to quit. You know, I mean, you're not going to be friggin' Spielberg off the bat. It's going to take years of you working at it, refining, working, failing, refining, succeeding, failing some more, succeeding some more, until you get there. Run by a bunch of geeks frustrated with the status quo, Ting is a new service that is bringing clarity, usability, and big savings to mobile phone users. Ting has one simple plan that offers fair, honest pricing. Megabytes, minutes, and text messaging are all billed separately. If you use a little bit more, you pay a bit more next tier. No ridiculous fees. Use less, and you're credited the difference. No BS, which is amazing. I pay a ton for my iPhone, and I feel like I'm constantly getting ripped off. If I wasn't in a contract, I'd be all over this. This is delicious. And here's the best part. If you check out FilmRiot.ting.com and try their online savings calculator, you're already ready to get started. You'll get $50 off your device purchase just for being a FilmRiot viewer. No promo code needed. All you have to do is go to FilmRiot.ting.com and you are good to go with the $50 off. That is glorious. That's glorious. I just love how you can select each thing individually. I'm gonna go with genius. All right, so 2 weeks ago, we asked you to send in some flying videos. We said it could be anything. It could be you actually flying, a body flying through the air for one reason or another, a ship flying. We didn't care. It just had to be a flying visual effect. And here is what you guys sent in.
What is that noise? What? I'm gonna throw away all your comic books. Alright, bye. Bye.
Once again, a fantastic job to everybody involved, and a fantastic job to people who didn't make it onto here. There was a ton that were even sent to me that I watched that I really, really loved. One in particular that I really liked, that I wanted to make it on, but as it turns out, it's been online for 2 months. Again, guys, these have to be done within these 2 weeks. The whole idea is that we're giving you a deadline for you guys to knock out, as you would have to in the real world. It's a part of, you know, just practicing, you know, doing what we do on a weekly basis. So they got to be within those 2 weeks. Plus, if they're not, it's not fair to everybody else who's working their butt off to get them in, and within the 30 seconds and everything. But there was some really great, like Frog Milan, which I think is how you pronounce it, Milan or Milan, or I don't know. That was a great visual effect. That reminded me of the one that we did with Emily when she does karate and punches Josh across the room. I think that's the technique that they used, but they used it a lot cooler than we did. I gotta tell you guys, I made Bruno show that to me about 5 times in a row, so insanely good effect. And speaking of insane, Mr. Dan Insane finally submitted one animation. Really glad to see animation on here because that was actually frame by frame drawn is how he does it. So fantastic job, looks like something right out of Cartoon Network. But now, what are we gonna do for the next one? Somebody actually tweeted to me the other day with the suggestion of doing an explosion challenge, and I think that's a great idea.
It's a great idea, yeah.
I think we should do that one next. But I don't think it should just be like explosion, like, oh, fire, explosion from a grenade or something. It can be if you want, but it could be any type of explosion. A steam pipe erupts, water explosion of some kind, a mound of clothing explodes, but it has to be a visual or special effect of some kind of explosion. Obviously, do not use real flames or anything like that. Be safe, safety first in absolutely everything. I mean, it could be a special effect if you're dealing with water or smoke or clothing. But get to work on that. Remember, it has to be within the 2 weeks, 30 seconds or less. 2 weeks from now, which is Friday, September 14th by 12 p.m. CST to Bruno's Twitter or Bruno's Facebook. Get to work. Really excited to see after this. I'm really excited to see what you guys do with an explosion. So get to work on the next. So that's it for this week, which means, as always, time for my short film suggestion of the week. This one is a short film, unlike last time, and this one is called Struck. It's a 2008 short film directed by Taron Lexton. It's about 6 minutes long, and it is really, really great. It's about this guy on his way to work gets struck with a 3-foot arrow through his chest. It doesn't harm him, but he can't get it out either, and he has to learn to live with it and his loneliness. I don't want to tell you too much about it. I really, really like this short film a lot. I think it has a great style and a really, really interesting story. So check it out right here. There's a lot to learn from it. So give it a look-see. But that's it. Don't forget to get to work on your Monday challenge. Cannot wait to see these start pouring in. I don't know, just the creativity that have been coming from these is just pretty refreshing. If you say like a nice Coke on a hot day, but I don't drink Coke. So that was a weird thing. I'll see you next week.
I can't believe I'm flying in air, just like a great big bumblebee. Flying so high I sometimes get scared. I can't believe I'm flying like a